It was 3 o'clock, it rained. We would come sometimes and have a 7, 8, 10 game homestand and maybe take batting practice once, because every day here in South Florida, like we all know, in the summertime, you could almost set your watch by a 4 o'clock thunder shower. We experienced it the last couple of days here, right? Thunder shower, 4 o'clock, rain out, batting practice. We had to hit in the cages and then play the game. But we felt that it was an advantage to us because we were used to it. Other teams that come in from Colorado or the Dodgers from LA, that come in from the West Coast, never experienced the humidity, never experienced the rain delays. So we thought that we had an advantage of that.
You were born in Cuba, but came over here basically when you were a baby. So essentially Miami's where you were raised, went to high school. What was it like to manage your hometown team?
It was something that I was not prepared to do when I got the chance, right? And I remember finishing the press conference at the pro player, or Joe Robbie, whichever, I can't remember now what was the name of it back then, and going home and celebrating with my mom and dad in their home, in the home I grew up, which is still there. And I'm going, the honeymoon's gonna wear off here pretty soon, right? Because you're a head coach or a manager of a major team here in your hometown. So please do not listen to the radio, the Spanish radio, the TV, because sooner or later there's going to be some, 5-game losing streak. And they promised that they wouldn't do that, which they lied to me. I think they still did listen to all that stuff. But it was great. It was great coming here. And every time I come back, whether I come back with the Atlanta Braves as a manager, or come back here with the Baltimore Orioles, there's always people that you grew up with. There's always people that you spend time with, and it's always a good time to come home.
It should be noted, this franchise here has been around for like 31 years. They had 7 winning seasons, and 2 of them were while you were managing. You had a lot of success here relative for the then Florida Marlins.
Well, thank you. I didn't know that. And I guess the other 2 was some World Series. Right?
Yeah, they had 2 World Championships, which kind of are so strange.
Yeah, I was in the organization, but not in the big leagues. But thank you. It was one of those things that you managed in 07. I think was your first year managing, and I think it was almost kind of like this, right? Get our brains beat in, but then we started playing a little better baseball, and by 2009, we were competitive. And 2008 we were competitive, and then for whatever reason it didn't transpire for the next couple of years. That's why when I tell people that what's happened here doesn't happen very often, where Mike hired Brandon to manage a team, lose 3 years in a row of 100, and then start getting better. Usually they bring somebody else in. They didn't here.
The guy before the guy.
Yeah, the guy before the guy. So. And they kept Hyde around, and now we've had back-to-back successful season, and who knows what's going to happen this season. Hopefully a lot better than last year.
You mentioned Brandon Hyde, and I believe you met him for the first time while he was in this organization and you were managing the team. What were your early impressions of Brandon Hyde?
Well, I was the major league manager, and Hyder was in the minor leagues. I think he was the minor league manager, him and Tim Cousins both. And we would bring Hyder over every once in a while to throw batting practice or hit fungos, and he was organized, he was detailed, the energy level was off the charts, and we had this friendship, and now it's the roles are reversed, and it's good. But it's been a great relationship, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And he's treated me like gold, and Tim, Cousins was in the same boat, and good people, number one, and good coaches when you see them, and then you pay attention and you try to help those coaches along.
There's only 30 jobs, but could you ever have imagined a young Brandon Hyde being a major league manager?
Yes. And you know what? I say yes. And if you would have asked me, would you imagine Brandon Hyde to be a general manager in the big leagues? And I would have said yes. If you would have said, hey, can he be he was already a farm director, but can he be a president of baseball operation? I would say yes. This guy, he's a major league manager, and I hope he could do it for a lot of years. But he could have taken so many different roads and be successful in all of them.
You've obviously been a huge part of this team's turnaround these last years. Really, when you became the bench coach, it obviously helped Brandon out a lot, and obviously the team's gotten better with talent and everything else. Tell me about that relationship, particularly before the game, strategizing, looking ahead, and those in-game moves, because I'm often right by the dugout, and I see you two talking through everything that's about to happen.
It's been great, and like I said, I prepare I prepare like I'm going to manage tonight's game. He knows more information about, who's banged up a little bit and that. I don't dive deep into that scenario, but I prepare. He'll ask questions, and I always say, why don't you ever ask me an easy question? And but it's great. He bounces stuff off of myself. He bounces stuff off the pitching coaches, and then he makes a decision. And whatever the decision he comes up with is usually really, really good one. My biggest thing is when we start, and we've talked about it, we start emptying the bench, when I see Rutschman DHing, I'm prepared that we're going to play National League rules at some point in that game, because we're going to put, we're going to pinch it for McCann, and now the DH is going to go in the game, and now we're going to have people flying everywhere, and so that's where I get he gets the money's worth from me.
I do want to ask you about growing up in South Florida and being a Cuban-American, and you come here, it's one of the first things you really pick up on, and the incredible American patriotism from Cuban-Americans here. I know you, but even more so your parents, lived that life of coming here in terrible times, and just the last few days, you just sense an incredible appreciation for the freedoms here. And I want to ask you just about your experience growing up in that environment here.
Well, really short, I could say, that especially my parents who came in 1966 and became American citizens, and, it's the American dream. That's all I can say, right? It's the American dream. They lived it, and the Cuban people are proud of being Americans and being citizens of the United States, and you get a lot of that here, and I've never been back. We talked about this off camera a couple of days ago. I've never been back. I would love to go back before there's a Starbucks or the Marriott Hotel in every corner. But not just quite yet. Not just quite yet to go back. But yeah, there's a big, and now not only you get, 40 years ago was a big Cuban population, but now you get a lot of people from a lot of different Latin American countries. Venezuela is a big influence here in South Florida. You got Puerto Rico. You got a lot of the Latin American countries in the area.
I can only imagine the added pressure and also pride that the Latin community here in South Florida, but the Cuban-American community here in South Florida must have had for you, because baseball is something that does bond the two countries as their national pastime.
Well, yes, and you see it doing the WBC, right? The WBC, they come here and they sell out the place, and they love the passion of the baseball. I felt pressure, when I was here, being Cuban-American and wanting to be successful, not only for myself but also for the Cuban people and the Spanish people here